Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
I need to find my drosh. Oh, here it is. Okay. So, Lech Lecha, this parasha, the famous words that begin it, are very, very well known. Go forth, God says to Abraham, to Avram at the time, from your land, from your birthplace, from your father's house, to the land that I will show you. So the question is, what is the land that I will show you? What is the land? It's a real question. Canaan, the land of Israel, the land of Canaan. That is the land that eventually Abraham and his descendants will settle upon, the land that God gives. But it's kind of funny, don't you think, that right when Abraham and Sarah arrive in the land of Canaan, the first thing that they do is leave. They go to Egypt. There's a terrible famine in the land of Israel, and so they go, as is done over and over again in the book of Genesis, to Egypt to find provisions to survive the famine. But it seems to be, in some ways, a challenge or a test of faith for Abraham. Abraham, he's known as kind of the ultimate in a faithful Jew. That's why he went in the first place. That's why he heard this call from God. And so you would think that Abraham would have enough faith, Abraham who had enough faith to take his son up the mountain and raise the knife, that Abraham would have enough faith to stay in the land of Canaan, to think that God would provide even amidst the famine. Many commentators, Nachmanides especially, are a bit critical of Abraham for taking off and leaving. But I really look to an interesting commentary that I want to share with you today that looks to this first verse of Lech Lecha, go forth to the land that I will show you, El haaretz asher areka, and that phrasing, to the land that I will show you, in all of its vagueness. There is a Hasidic rabbi, a very, very famous Hasidic rabbi, who's Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Berdichev, the Berditchever Rebbe. He was an 18th century Hasidic rabbi who looks to give Abraham and God some credit for this detour to Egypt. This is what Rav Levi Yitzchak says. By being vague about Avram's destination and not naming the country, God may have hinted that Avram should move to any country, which circumstances would indicate as a suitable destination for him. Hence, when he came to Eretz Yisrael and shortly thereafter a famine struck, he reasoned it was time for him to move further south, to Egypt, where there was no famine. He continues, it is a general rule in life that when in doubt about a course of action that one should pursue, one must rely on one's God-given power of reason. God indicated to Avraham by giving him these vaguely worded instructions to the land that I will show you, that he was free to follow what his reason dictated to him. I studied these words of Kedushat Levi, the writings of Rabbi Levi Yitzchak, with a friend, a colleague of mine. We're chavruta, we're study buddies. And we actually took a bit of time off over the summer, and we just got back this week to studying. And we sat down and we said, what are we going to study? Should we continue what we did or something new? And we said, let's just look at the parasha. And we pulled up Levi Yitzchak, and I'm so glad I did, because it gave me some wonderful insight into this parasha that I never thought of before. And we studied this bit of Levi Yitzchak on Tuesday, on U.S. Election Day. And we were, like I know many others, many of you probably here, were quite certain of the outcome, what it would be in the election. And the outcome was entirely inconsistent with what we had thought. And so for much of this week, I have been in a state of numb shock. But Rabbi Levi Yitzchak's words have stayed with me and brought me some comfort. Again, he wrote, Avram should move to any country which circumstances would indicate as a suitable destination for him. I don't think this is about Americans moving to Canada, though I am especially thankful as an American living in Canada to be here. But this is about the notion that the destination is malleable, that human beings have the ability to shape their destiny. No, we cannot control the circumstances or the vote count. Pain and affliction in life will continue to come at us, whether we like it or not. But when life's trajectory seems to be pointing us in a specific direction and a roadblock rises in our way, we get to choose another path to move forward. You are allowed, actually expected, to change course. That is what I think these opening verses of Lech Lecha come to teach us. When life gives you famine, get your tush to Egypt. Don't wallow in the dry emptiness of famine. God gives us sechel, intellect, to determine a different way to go. Abraham knew that the only way to truly find a future in the land of Israel was to go through Egypt. His God-given intellect was what showed him the way forward. I don't know what the impact of the U.S. election will be upon my family and friends, upon really the entire world. I know that it was not what many of us expected, and so, like Abraham, we must adjust our course and move forward. This advice from Rabbi Levi Yitzchak is good not only for our global political context, but of course for our personal ones as well. The courses of our lives do not take us from point A to B like a smooth line of trajectory on a graph. We encounter roadblocks, dead ends, switchbacks, and real failures. But what the Jew must never do is stop moving. It is the famine that leaves us trapped in stagnation. When we see it coming, Abraham reminds us to get moving. Shabbat Shalom.